Today on the show, I'm happy to have Ross Youngs. We're going to go over the process of getting grants, as well as the microbiome and untapped microbes and the technology around that. Ross is the founder of Biosortia. They're pursuing multiple discoveries and IND opportunities with microbiome-focused immunology. So, Ross, first of all, how much money have you raised in grants for this business now?
Grant-wise, we're right around $9 million total.
And what about total capital raised?
Right around 22. So when you include the angel investors and the grants, it's a little bit over $22 million.
And how many employees do you now have in the business?
We have about 6 in the business right now. We've had as many as 35 as we were developing the core technology. We're now ready to execute that technology since it was proven at subscale, and we want to execute at full scale.
And what year was the company founded?
2012.
So first of all, before we get into the tech, I know my pressing question is, how do you even raise $9 million in grants? I'm sure our listeners would want to know that process.
One of the things that happen is being innovative. So there's 2 real ways you can raise money with grants, especially through granting agencies. One of those is to do something that is so outside of current technology that it catches the attention of those that are trying to support next generation technologies. And that's what we did. We created a technology to pull microbes out of the natural world at a scale and quality that allowed direct investigation. And that kind of technology had never existed because microbes are so small and typically in any habitat so dilute. Everyone in the world has had to culture microbes versus go get them directly. And this really is a game changer. And part of the game changing aspect of this is that 1% of microbes that could culture led to 50% of the drugs on the shelf today. We now can essentially bring 100% of the microbes that cannot be cultured into the equation for the first time.
So what does a microbe do for me?
This is the interesting aspect is 15 years ago, they may not have been able to tell you that much. They might have been able to tell you microbes are diseases and we need to kill them. Today, they understand that you've got a microbiome in all parts of your body. So the biggest microbiome you possess is in your digestive tract. But put it this way, you have 30 trillion human cells. You've got 40 trillion human microbes that live in and on you. You have 23,000 genes. The genes of your microbiome is 25 million plus. We are outnumbered and we are outcalculated by our microbes. And it is now, let's say, established that our microbiome has every impact on disease courses, causing of diseases, causing of inflammation, obviously infectious diseases. It's a big, major player in therapeutics opportunities that are ahead of us and health opportunities forever.
And then what exactly is microbiome mining? I know that's a term you use.
Yeah, so typically, when you look at how people try to understand the microbes, you can look at its genomics, you can look at what it produces from its genomics. So all organisms produce metabolites and secondary metabolites. Call those drug-like molecules that are there for a purpose. Discovering culturable microbes and getting at their molecules led to so many drugs and led to so many opportunities. They actually do things like penicillin is an antibiotic, but it's made by a microbe. We now use it as medicine. And there's lots of examples of that. So microbes make cellular signaling chemistry. And when you put microbes together into a microbiome, they're communicating with each other, they're defending against each other, they're repairing, and they're signaling all aspects of life. So we now know that the human will not do well without a microbiome. In fact, could very well die without its microbiome. Its health and its welfare would be in massive jeopardy if we had no microbes that lived in and on us and supported us. with that in mind, we can look at just simply one fact. How many molecules does the microbiome make that are drug-like? Cellular signaling molecules, turning on heart disease, turning on cancer, turning on inflammation. Well, there's more than 100,000 small drug-like molecules our own microbiomes make. Yet, science knows hardly anything about those molecules because they're there in such small quantities. So the typical approach is to study the human and look at what can be cultured, which means we know very little about the minute quantities of these chemistries. And we do know the genomics typically of a lot of the microbes that live in us, our microbiome. So we took a whole different approach. We took the approach of scale and quality. What's beautiful about our technology is all life is connected. The first organisms on this planet were microbes. They evolved into every other organism, and every organism living on the planet today has a microbiome. The reality of it is microbes are still key. Our own human microbiome overlaps with the aquatic microbiome in genes and metabolic pathways at least 73%. So if we're wanting to find the secrets of the human's microbiome, we can use the surrogate of the aquatic microbiomes, which represents such diversity in habitats. We will likely run into a vast array of chemical opportunities that not only impact therapeutics, but agrochemical, sustainability, cosmetics, advanced energy, carbon capture. The reality of it is this is a panacea of potential molecules and enzymes science could never tap until this technology allows scale. Now, scale, a typical starting point for a drug discovery program, might be 100 milliliters of a sample. It would fit in a flask. In our case, we don't start with 100 milliliters. We start with 200 million times this scale in order to get at the hidden molecules that reside in microbiomes. And I like using the example. Imagine if we were to start a lithium mining company today, and I said, let's use a tin cup to go mine lithium. It would take you a second to go, wrong scale, wrong tool, or Ross is crazy. The reality of it is we broke through all the barriers to now use scale and use quality to get at the most valuable, hidden, dark matter of biology directly. And that's the key.
If our listeners wanted to learn more, read more upon this technology, or just follow you or get in touch, how could they do so?
Definitely our website, biosortia.com. We've even recently posted what is a presentation to government agencies. It's called an ideation presentation on polyplexus. But we have links to that in our website, and it was a 3-part program talking about the potential of industrial scale microbiome mining, which nobody in the world has ever done, and it's never been taught. So this is a breakthrough of enormous potential to impact the future of humanity.
Thank you, Ross, for coming on the show, and everybody for listening to another episode of Failing to Success. If you like the show, make sure to subscribe. I'm your host, Chad Galecki, and we'll see you next time.